Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nimble Urban Survivor. I'm your host, Nick Catelli. Hope you're having a good month, good day, good year, good something, right? It's a little bit of good news today. Dr. Fauci, the famous Dr. Fauci, said that hopefully in the fall that live performances such as Broadway will be able to open up again. So people will be able to go and see Broadway plays, and, well, that sounds really good. But the other good thing, too, is I heard that Law & Order Special Victims Unit is hiring a lot of Broadway actors to kind of, fill in on the show. So that's like really, really good news to hear. And that kind of brings me to today's topic. Sam writes in, he says, Nick, community theater. I'm not in community theater, but I have a lot of friends that do community theater, and I hate going to watch them perform. How do I survive having to go and see a presentation of community theater? Well, it's kind of an interesting one because community theater, kind of an interesting genre of the, of the arts is community theater, because a lot of people do it because, they live obviously in a community and they're like, what would be fun is that we should do a presentation, a Broadway version of Guys and Dolls, in a basement of a church. And that's kind of what community theater kind of is. And it's kind of just more for fun. Right? That's usually what it is. It's not like serious actors who usually do community theater. But, when you have a friend who does community theater all the time, you have to go. You're obligated to go. It's like if you have kids and they graduate from high school, like you have to go to that graduation. Now, the college one you can skip. Like my parents didn't even go to my college graduation. I didn't even go to my college graduation because, you know what? I just didn't want to wait for it. It took too long. So kind of the same thing with community theater, though, is if you have a friend or a family member who does it, you have to go and support them. And it's awful. Yeah, the quality of the shows really aren't that good. I get that it's all like good fun. I get that. But who's having more fun? The people in the audience or the people that are, on stage? I think it's more for the people, that are on stage. And I think that's great. Okay, I think it's great. And I will admit, when I was a kid in my elementary school days, I actually did do community theater. I was involved in a few community theater productions. They were okay. I'm not going to lie, though. The experience, it was so-so. Wasn't the best. And let me tell you, the first show I ever did when I was a kid, I did a community theater production at the Shrewsbury Community Theater in St. Louis of a little musical called Little Abner. And here's how shitty the director was, because usually community theater directors are usually like guys that like lived in New York for like 5 seconds, or maybe they were like taking a flight somewhere else and then their plane had like a layover for an hour in Manhattan, and then they're like, oh my God, I'm the equivalent of a Broadway director because I just stayed in New York for almost an hour and a half. It was great. They even had a Dunkin' Donuts in the airport, and that's what they think. So let me tell you how shitty this director was for Little Abner, is that on the first rehearsal, we didn't do a read-through of the script. He just showed us a movie version of the musical. That's right. He went out and rented the movie version of the musical, and then we all had to sit and watch it. And that was the first rehearsals. We didn't read the script or do anything. We just actually watched other actors from I think it was like the 1960s doing it. I remember it was in color, so it had to be like 60s, 70s, and I was just kind of like, I was a kid. I didn't really realize it until today. I was like, man, what a shitty director that was. But that was community theater for you. It wasn't anything spectacular. It's about the performers, just having fun and doing like a Broadway type version show on an ultra low budget. It's fun for them. Is it fun for the family and friends that have to go see it? You know what? For one time, it is. Like, if you had a friend and they do it like one time because they just want to like have a midlife crisis and get out of their body, that's fine. But you will have some people who will just do it constantly and treat community theater as if it's like real theater. That's right, I said it. It's not real theater. It's community theater, which is just fun, play, make-believe theater, okay? But you will have people who do it religiously and get really, really involved in it. And I can tell you, I remember those people when I did like a few community theater productions when I was a kid that were like older people. And I'm talking older people like 20s and 30s, maybe even 40s, that were like dead serious about these like community theater productions. And to me, that's kind of sad. If you want to be a real actor, like go to LA, go to New York, go to Chicago, I guess nowadays go to Atlanta and actually pursue it. Don't use a community theater as like to like, live out your what could have been life. So if you want to be an actor, just go for it. Don't treat the community theater like it's your fucking Juilliard and then treat everybody like shit when they don't like treat you as if you're a Juilliard type actor, because you're not. Because usually community theater actors have like day jobs, and then it's like at night they like do their community theater stuff. So I'm sorry, I'm like totally getting off on a community theater tangent. See what it's doing to me. See what it's doing to me. So let's get back to the question: is how do you survive going to see a community theater production? Because let's just talk about that. Okay, what happens if we have to go and keep seeing our friends and our family in the community theater world? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's probably an apocalyptic world-ending event, because you're going to get sucked into it, right? And then what's going to happen is people are going to think they're actually talented in the community theater, and they're probably not. It's just your family and friends. You got to remember, they'll tell you you're talented, regardless. Like, you could go on stage and kick yourself in the nuts, and your parents will probably tell you, like, oh my God, that was the most talented thing I've ever seen. You should go to LA. Luckily, my parents were like that. My parents were like very honest with me. And when I was like, hey, I want to be an actor, they were like, well, just don't suck and you might make it. And I really appreciate that, to be honest. But going back to it, if we have to go to all these community theater productions, what's going to happen is that people are going to really start hating the arts. And they're going to stop going to like other theater productions, right? You're going to be like, oh my God, like I don't even want to go see a Broadway production because I've had to see so many community theater productions. And then what's going to happen is all those Broadway actors and that whole district in New York is just going to go out of business and cause an economic collapse on the island of Manhattan. And a lot of people in Manhattan go to see Broadway. Broadway's a big thing. Times Square obviously hosts Broadway. What's going to happen then if Broadway shuts down? Times Square, their tourism, that's going to shut down too. And then, everything in Times Square is probably going to go bankrupt. And that's going to have like a huge trickle effect on Manhattan. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, it's just one city. They might go under. Another one's going to rise from the ashes and take over. Maybe Atlanta. I don't know. But when you really think about it, Manhattan is probably one of the biggest, most expensive cities in the world, maybe the galaxy. Take that, Mars. Don't want to hear about Mars anymore. And what's going to happen is that's going to have a trickle economic effect on, the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, all of that. And the whole planet Earth's economy is going to tank because Manhattan tanked, right? It's kind of like that. If I'm going to hell, I'm taking everybody with me. And that's what's going to happen in this event if Broadway goes under, because so many people are sick of sitting and watching community theater that they're not going to actually want to go and see a real Broadway show. It's going to tank the economy. We're pretty much going to get sent into World War III because everybody's going to start fighting, starvation, things like that. We're looking at a huge apocalyptic economic event, right? So how do we survive going to community theater by still loving to go to, regular theater? And I've really thought about this one. Because I actually have experienced this before. And it's not fun because you guys know, like when you go to go see your friend in a community theater show, it's usually on a Friday or a Saturday night. And those are like your two big party nights, right? But now you're, paying a $6 donation, suggested donation. I fucking hate that, by the way. Have you ever gone to an event or a theater event or an art event and they're like, it's a suggested donation? And you're like, oh, okay, well, my donation will be, 1 penny. How about that? And they're like, well, no, the minimum of the suggested donation is $25. And I'm like, well, that's not a suggested donation. That's the price. I would respect you more if you just called it the price versus getting me in the door with like a suggested donation and then, jacking it up to $25. That's fucking bullshit. Don't do that to people. I hate that. It's the first thing I hate about going to see a community theater show. Second, I feel like they just go on forever, right? And then, you have to like say it was like the greatest thing that you've ever seen to your friends, which in reality, it might have a few like funny moments, but it's probably not that funny, right? And then what happens is your friends who were in the community theater production like drag you to the after party or what do they have, like a cast party, And that just gets like socially awkward because all of like the weird community theater actors are like singing songs around the piano, and then they get drunk and then they get like really grabby with each other, and it turns into like a weird version of like a porn version of Cats, and that's not good. You might end up getting felt up by somebody, and you want to get out of there, but you can't because your friend who was in the community theater production is actually your ride home. So you're actually stuck there, and you might even get molested by someone who's dressed up like a cat from the 1978 version of Cats. I'm not. Is that right? Was Cats in the 70s or the 80s? I'm not sure, and I don't care. I actually tried to watch the new movie version of Cats, and that was god awful. Just like the movie version of Rent. Terrible. Okay, I digress though. So, how do we survive going to see your friend's community theater show and then being able to just get out of it automatically? Okay, because the first thing you want to do here to save your sanity is you don't actually want to go to the show, right? You don't want to sit there. You don't have to watch it in the cramped seats, dark theater. You don't want to, you just don't want to do it. So I want you to take, step one is take a page out of every sports team right now. Because you know all the sports teams like the Dodgers and the Rams are doing the cardboard cutout, right? Where you take like a picture of yourself and you make a cardboard cutout. And then, you put it in the stands so the athletes look like they have like a fake video game audience to play for or something. So what you want to do in step one is order a cardboard cutout of yourself, and feel free to do it. Like if you have a favorite sports team, you might as well just get a cardboard cutout of yourself done, and have it used for the sports team. And just ask them if you could borrow it for like a community theater production. And I guarantee that if you tell them that you have to use the cutout for a community theater production, they're probably, I'm 99% sure they're going to give it to you because they're going to be like, oh, been there, done that, take it, bring it back whenever you want. So step one, get the cardboard cutout created. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, Nick, how am I going to get the cardboard cutout into the community theater during the show? Because I'm going to have to physically bring it in there and set it up. No, you're not. You will not have to do that, which is step two, is hire a date. Okay. And that's right. Hire a date. And I don't mean an escort. Okay. We're not saying that here on the Nimble Urban Survivor. We, do not get a prostitute or an escort or anything like that. I think the best route to go is just get a date, or get someone to go with you. You can hire I would just hire an actor or an actress, man, woman, someone that you like brought to the show. And their role is just to be a professional community theater goer, right? And I don't even think you need to hold auditions for that. You could just like Craigslist that or put that up on Actors Access. You could even pay, some actors probably just do it for like a hot Snickers bar and some cold bread. So that's really easy, okay? And then what you're going to do is have them bring the cardboard cutout in. So here's something I want you to remember when you're casting for your fake date or friend, to go to the community theater production. I would get somebody big, right? Depending on your size, you're going to want someone that's a little bit bigger than you. So for me, I'm 6'2", 200 pounds. I'm a fucking linebacker, right? So I don't want to hire someone that's smaller than me. I'm going to want to hire like a girl to pretend to be my date who's probably going to be like 6'4", 245, so that she can hide the cardboard cutout, the life-size cutout of me, like under her dress or her coat. And remember, with the cardboard cutout, it doesn't have to be full body. It literally just needs to be waist up, okay? So, step two, hire someone that's a little bit bigger than you that's going to be able to sneak in the cardboard cutout into the community theater production. Bada boom, bada bing, done. Step three, buy tickets. Now, don't get front row tickets. Don't get center row tickets. You are going to want to find the darkest part of the theater for where you're going to want to sit. And you're probably going to be like, well, Nick, how do I figure that out? Well, that's easy. Number one, you might be able to go online and figure it out in some chat rooms or Google it. But the real thing is, I would just contact the janitor of wherever the theater production is going on. because it's community theater, so there's usually like a community center where they put them on at. Sometimes they put them on at like a YMCA or like an old high school or the basement of a church or an abandoned warehouse, whatever, right? They usually 99% of the time those places will have some sort of janitor who works there. And you can just reach out to them. You probably find them through Facebook or whatever and just say, hey, I'm really allergic to light, especially artificial light. Where can I sit in the theater house so I don't have like an allergic reaction and die? And then they'll give you like the correct seat to sit in. So now you're sitting in the dark. And, I would assume you've probably like fixed the Rubik's Cube, but you want to sit in the dark so that, with the cardboard cutout, that he can't see you. Also, cardboard cutouts can sometimes have a glare. So if you're seeing the light and it looks like light's coming off of you, I mean, it's going to show, obviously, that you're a picture. So remember, with your cardboard cutout, don't go for the glossy, go for the matte. So that's step 3 is research and buy tickets. Okay. Step 4. Step 4 is going to be the actual night of the production. You're going to have your date, man, woman, whatever, go. They are going to get there when the lights go down, okay? Don't have them get there when the lights are up. Have them go when the show has started and the lights are down, and you're going to have them sneak in, okay? The more you can do in the dark, just like Batman, you got to be like Batman. That's the mindset. Sneak into the theater like Batman. Okay. And also remember, you got to text your friend. Tell your friend who's in the community theater production that you're running late. Because I always find that's like a big thing when you have to go see your friends in like a community theater production, is they're always hounding you to like be on time, show up on time. Are you coming? Are you coming? Are you coming? Obviously just make something up. Say that, there's traffic, a bear attacked you, you got your hand cut. On a snow cone machine, that's a good one. Say that, your foot is stuck in an ice cream maker, whatever. The possibilities are endless. You can always Google that. Okay, so step 4, just to recap, is sneak in right when the show starts, when it's dark. Okay, and then your date friend is going to watch the show and they're going to clap and cheer and do all that stuff, right? But here's the thing. As you guys know, community theater actors, obviously they're on stage and they're acting, but they're always trying to look out into the audience to listen for you, right? They're going to be looking for to hear your laugh and to hear your reactions, because it's almost like they're really, they're not performing for the real audience. They're performing for you. And they want to hear your reactions. They want to hear you laugh and cheer and all that stuff, right? So they don't need to, see you with their eyes, but their ears is what they want to hear. So how do you give their ears a little bit of that reaction tingle? Well, it's simple. And we're bringing up the step back for this. This is probably actually like step 2.B or some shit. But you're going to want to take your date's phone, okay? And you're going to just want to record some audible things on it, such as laughters, or, hey, that's my best friend up there, or, hey, that's my dad, or, hey, that's my mailman. Oh my God, you guys did amazing. Laughter, laughter, laughter. Things like that. If you want some examples of that, you can go online, and YouTube usually has like stock, sound footage of like how to laugh at a show or cheer on your friends. So you're going to want to record that on your date's phone so that during, the performance, they can play those things, and then the person that you came to see can hear them while, they're on stage, and then that'll help them, have a better performance or whatever, right? So I guess that's kind of a step 5 is to remember to, record that on their phone. Okay, so let's do a quick recap here of all of the steps. Step number 1, obviously cardboard cutout. Step number 2 is get the date that's bigger than you to sneak in the cardboard cutout. Step number 3 is buy the tickets in a dark spot. Step number 4 is have your date show up right when the play starts, when it's dark, with the cardboard cutout and the audible sounds of you cheering on the person in the theater that's recorded on your date's phone. Okay, now let's get to the last step here. Step 5. Because usually what happens, obviously, at the end of community theaters, they do the big applause and things like that. Now, this is the actual part where you're going to have to be there. Okay. So you're going to have to show up right when the play ends because when they turn on the house lights and they can see everything, it's going to be clear when your, actor friend sees you, you're a cardboard cutout. So I would say rule of thumb is for step 5 is to show up probably about 5 minutes until the show is over and get to your seat. And by that time, you can just like sneak in, sit down. But here's the big thing is what do you do with the cardboard cutout? And I have a genius idea for that, okay? Now, here's the big thing is when you go see your friends in community theater, right? They want gifts. Usually you bring them like some candy or some flowers and a card that says like great job. Well, you want to turn your cardboard cutout into a giant card and a paper mache bouquet. Now, how you do that, I have no clue how you would do that or origami it or whatever. You can probably look that up on Pinterest. That in itself, for me to explain how to take a cardboard cutout of a person that's waist up and turn it into like a card / paper flower bouquet, I feel like we'd have to take another like 30, 40 minutes to try and explain that. And I just don't have the time for that right now. So you can just go ahead and Google that. But step 5 was when you sneak into the theater with 5 minutes left is you're going to want to take that cardboard cutout and, turn it into the card and the bouquet of flowers. And so it'll never resemble, a cardboard cutout of yourself, right? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, I really wanted to use this in my sporting event thing. I guess you want to put your cardboard cutout at Wrigley Field for when the Cubs play. I get that. But what's more important, getting a cardboard cutout in Wrigley Field that might get seen on ESPN for like a millisecond or, making your friend happy without actually having to ruin your own happiness. I don't know. You be the judge. So to recap on step 5, get there with 5 minutes left. And change the cardboard cutout like a transformer into a lovely, great job card and a bouquet of, weird cardboard flowers that are literally made out of you. And I think you're going to be okay. So, as you guys can see, it's kind of an easy 5-step process, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how you survive community theater. That's how we survive the world not shutting down and hating Broadway and an economic apocalyptic event. Bada boom, bada bing. I just saved the world for probably like the billionth time on this show. I hope you guys really appreciate that. Now, let's talk about what not to do then and how to prepare for it. Because sometimes when you go to see a community theater production, your friend will invite you out for drinks, right? They'll be like, hey, the cast and I, we're going to Pizza Hut for some Pepsis and, deep dish. You want to go? And then you kind of have to be like, sure, let's go. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can get out of it. Sometimes you feel obligated that you have to go to the Pizza Hut or wherever they want to go. It's usually like a chain restaurant like TGI Fridays or was it Applebee's? I really do like Applebee's actually, or Chili's. Chili's got some baby back ribs. So what's going to happen though? As you know, when you go to these events, your friend that was in the community theater production, they're going to try and ask you what your favorite parts were, what you loved about it, bada boom, bada bing, bada bing. And you're not going to really be able to answer any of that. Okay. And you can't really bullshit your way out of it, or they're going to find out that like you weren't paying attention or you weren't even there. So what you're going to want to do in this event, if you think you're going to get invited and you can't get out of it to an after-cast drink party thing, is you're going to want to train your date or whoever you paid to come sneak in your cardboard cutout and see the show with you to literally just rave about the show. Okay, and that's going to be their whole job. Like if you get dragged to the Pizza Hut, your date's whole job is going to be the whole time is just to brag about the show and talk about everything that they liked and literally cut you off every time your friend asks you a question about the show, right? So if your friend's like, what was your favorite part about seeing, my scene? You're going to be like, well, I think, and then your date will just chime in and be like, well, I think the most amazing part is when you made that guy laugh and then did a twirl. It was hilarious. And that's what they're going to do. And then at some point after, you've let your date like say everything great about the show, if your friend asks you anything else, like, well, what else did you like about it? You have a simple answer and you can just say, well, I think they pretty much summed up everything I was going to say, but I'm going to slap on an extra 100% awesomeness to that, right? Because you didn't see the show, you didn't want to see the show, but your date did, and they can kind of help bail you out there, okay? And I think that does it when it comes to how to survive community theater. It's an easy 5-step process. Now, I'm going to end with a story today because I have a good story when it comes to community theater. So when I did community theater, I was in elementary school. I was probably in about 5th grade, 6th grade. I think 5th grade, actually. And I remember I did a community theater production at the Kirkwood Community Center in St. Louis, Missouri, of The Music Man. It was a good show. A lot of dancing, a lot of singing. I remember the guy who played the anvil salesman. I don't even remember this guy's name, but I always remember what he looked like. He was kind of like a, young dude at the time. I think he was like in high school or maybe even older than that. I don't remember, but he had like jet black hair. He was in shape. Real asshole, by the way. Not that talented. Real asshole during the whole show. I just remember he took it like way too seriously, and he acted like it was like a Broadway show, and he was the most unbelievable, biggest dickhead diva I had ever met in my life. And it's funny because I was just a kid, I was probably, I don't know how old a 5th grader is, but, I was just a kid at the time. But it's so funny is that I remember this fucking asshole and how he treated everybody like shit. He even treated me like shit, too. And I was just a little kid, what's that say about somebody when a grown-ass man, treats elementary school kids like shit during a community theater production of The Music Man? What a real dick, okay? So, and I couldn't do anything, I was a kid. I couldn't, like, fight the guy or really stand up for myself because I didn't know any better. I'm an innocent kid. And anyone that picks on kids, and if I even see you pick on a kid, I'll kick your fucking ass, okay? And then I'm sorry to, like, use that kind of language, but it's bullshit. Don't pick on kids if you're an adult. Okay, so years later, and I mean way later, I graduated college. Okay. And it was probably like 2006. And I was like 22 at the time. And I remember I was auditioning because, I was an actor in college and that's what I wanted to do. So when I graduated college, I, auditioned for theater that was in St. Louis before going back to Chicago. And I remember I, auditioned. I forget what it was. I didn't get the show, but I was auditioning, and that guy was there. And it was just like, I remembered him, and he looked like complete shit. I remember he was like fat. His face was all messed up. Like, he obviously didn't moisturize or he had zits or whatever. He lost all his hair. He had like this really bad, like thinning hairline. Like when your hair gets to that point, just shave it all off, just shave it off. Like he had a weird comb over. He looked like an out of worked used car salesman. And it was great. And it was just funny to me because the whole time when I saw him, I knew exactly who he was. Because, like, I'm Sicilian. Like, we remember the assholes till the day we die. And it was so great. He just looked terrible. He looked like his clothes couldn't even afford, like, clothes from the Goodwill or something. The shirt wasn't ironed. You ever see that where, like, someone's gut is so big that you can see, like, the undershirt just, like, screaming to get out from underneath, like, the button down? And even the belt's like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm keeping these pants up because this gut is pushing me out. And that's what he looked like. And it was funny to me because the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, my God. He's still here. He's still in this Midwestern city, like doing local theater productions. Now, just for the record, this was not a community theater production. I was auditioning for professional theater. So I guess this guy had like moved up in the world from community to professional, or maybe he was still doing community theater. But here's the other best too, is, like I was young and in shape and I could have easily picked this guy up and snapped him over my knee, but I didn't because I'm a peaceful guy. I'm not a mean guy. I'm a peaceful guy. But I just remember that was like the greatest revenge of all, was seeing how he had like just turned into a big fat fucking loser. And, I was actually starting my career as an actor. Because that's like the big tip, I guess. Here's a small tip if you want to make it in Hollywood, is just be a nice guy or a nice girl. Just be a decent human being. I meet so many fucking divas out here who think they're the shit and they've never done anything. You could be the most talented person in the world, but if nobody wants to, if you're an asshole, nobody's going to want to work with you. And that's what this guy is. And if I knew his name, I would look him up right now and tell you guys what he was doing. But I can assume he's probably working some shitty job in St. Louis. He's probably the manager of like a hardware store or something like that, living by himself or at his grandma's basement. And, I guess the point of that story is karma will always get someone. Remember that. If someone does something bad to you or somebody disrespects you or, karma will get them in the long run. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day they will. And the universe has this weird way of conveying that information back to you, of you finding out that like, no, the universe made things right. And in this case, they did. So I guess the moral of the story is that if you're a diva jerk of a community theater actor, that eventually karma will just turn you into an overweight, goodwill buying, bald, messed up faced, I guess I don't know where the guy works, but a loser is what it will turn you into. So be nice to people, and survive the community theater because we need you to. So Broadway can come back. Because Broadway will come back. Live shows will eventually come back. Okay, I know COVID has like ruined it for everybody, but it's going to happen. Don't worry. With the vaccine out, we're in the home stretch now. Okay, I just heard that they're going to turn Dodger Stadium into like a mass vaccination site. So we're in the home stretch. Things are going to get better. By the end of February, end of March, could be a whole new ball game. I could be back at the California Pizza Kitchen. Very lovely establishment. I highly recommend it. They're not even sponsoring this episode. I just really, I hate to admit this. I really do like their pizza because it's the only decent pizza that's in all of Los Angeles is the California Pizza Kitchen. So with that being said, guys, that is our time. Thank you for listening to the Nimble Urban Survivor. Remember, if you ever want to be a guest on the show or if you just want to, talk to me about something or have a topic you'd like me to talk about, feel free to reach out to me via my website at www.catellicomedy.com. So, guys, with that, thank you so much for tuning in to the Nimble Urban Survivor with me, your host, Nick Catelli. And I hope you guys are staying strong. I hope you're feeling good about yourself because life is going to get better. So remember, guys, stay positive, be nice to people, especially, if you're in a community theater production, be nice to your fellow actors and survive out there. And I will talk to you guys later.